UAV, the vehicle assembly building, where NASA assembled the rockets. We're going to be passing by the crawlers transporters, the vehicle that transport the rockets to the launch pad. But first, when we get to the main row on the right-hand side in front of the building, you're going to be able to see one small rocket that actually took humans into space. Also, if we're lucky, we're going to be able to see the wildlife on Kennedy Space Center. And that we see gators, all kinds of animals on the way to Apollo 7 planet. I hope everyone enjoy your tour.
We have pondered our place amongst the stars since the dawn of humankind. We've looked at the stars with wonder and amazement, their glow guiding our travel for centuries. The more we learn about our universe, the more questions we have.
I'm Emily Calandrelli, and today you'll be following me behind the gates on this exclusive bus tour of Kennedy Space Center. Our journey will take us past active facilities and end at the visitor complex's own Apollo Saturn V Center.
But before we begin this journey, just like every NASA mission, our #1 goal is to return home safely. So always stay seated while the bus is in motion. Please, no food or drinks on the bus with the exception of water. Please keep conversation to a minimum so others may hear and enjoy the tour. No photography is permitted at the security gates, but there will be plenty of photo opportunities during the tour.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, coming up over here on the right, in front of us, the parallel building, that's more rocket out there. That's the type of rocket that actually took humans into space. And also took the first America into space in the 1960s. This next video I'm going to be playing is going to tell you all about this rocket.
Standing tall in front of KSC's badging station is the Mercury Redstone rocket. It represents NASA's earliest efforts to send humans into space. These Redstone rockets were formerly ballistic missiles provided to NASA by the U.S. Army. In October of 1958, NASA formally organized Project Mercury with a mission to investigate man's reaction to this new environment and safely recover the capsule and its pilot. Man rating for human spaceflight on what was previously a ballistic missile was no easy task. After several modifications and test flights, a Mercury capsule carrying Ham, a chimpanzee, was successfully launched and recovered on January 31st, 1961. Just months later, on May 5th, astronaut Alan Shepard launched on a Mercury Redstone rocket, becoming the first American in space.
I'm Janet Petro, and welcome to NASA's John F. Kennedy Space Center, where NASA astronauts have ventured forth on flights of exploration since the 1960s. And what an exciting time to visit our multi-user spaceport. Through our Commercial Crew program, we are sending astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011. We're continuing to launch new research experiments and supplies to the space station with our commercial resupply services and launching the most technologically advanced scientific instruments to date into space through our Launch Services program. This all culminates in our ultimate mission, the Artemis program, where NASA will return to the moon, this time with the first woman and first person of color, and continue on to Mars. In all our history, there's been one common theme woven throughout our DNA. It's our insatiable desire to explore beyond our home planet in our never-ending quest to expand our knowledge of the universe. As you venture behind the gates, you'll find a community of the most talented, dedicated, motivated workforce anywhere in the world who believe in the unlimited potential of space exploration. This is an active spaceport where new things are happening every day. You never know what you might see, so enjoy your tour.
You are now approaching the Vehicle Assembly Building, or as NASA calls it, the VAB. It is one of the largest buildings in the world by volume, and is the place where NASA completes the final assembly of its rockets before launch. The sheer scale of this building is hard to grasp, even when you're right next to it.
Do you ever feel really small when you think about space? What about when you're standing next to a skyscraper or a really big bridge? Well, I feel about as small as an ant right now. I'm standing inside the Vehicle Assembly Building trying to grasp how large it really is in here. It has 4 bays. Each bay has 2 large horizontal doors below it and 7 smaller vertically opening doors above it, tall enough to fit the world's largest rocket through. In fact, these are the largest doors in the world.
Construction of the VAB required 65,000 cubic yards of concrete, 45,000 steel beams, 1 million steel bolts amounting to almost 100,000 tons of steel. Notice the flag painted on the outside of the VAB? It's the size of a 21-story building. The blue section alone is the size of an NBA basketball court. Each star is 6 feet across, and each red and white stripe is wide enough for this bus to drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot. By volume, the VAB can fit 3.5 Empire State Buildings, and it would take 250 billion ping pong balls to fill it.
NASA is known for dreaming big, and big dreams require big equipment. I'm standing next to the Crawler Transporter, the largest self-powered land vehicle in the world. It was originally built in 1965 for the Apollo program, and has since been updated to accommodate the space shuttle and now NASA's SLS rocket. Weighing in at 6 million pounds and capable of lifting and hauling 18 million pounds, the Crawler is an engineering marvel, even without a rocket sitting on top of it. This thing has 2,750 horsepower V16 diesel engines that can carry the Crawler up to a top speed of, wait for it, 1 mile per hour while carrying a rocket. Keep an eye out for the Crawler as we approach this area. And remember, we are visiting a working spaceport, so while the Crawler may not stay in one area for very long, it's bound to be out here somewhere. Now, let me introduce you to my friend, John Giles, the Crawler project manager.
I'm standing in front of Crawler Transporter number 2 at Kennedy Space Center. Crawler Transporter number 2 will be used for the SLS program to take the launch vehicle back and forth to the pad. We will begin by going underneath the mobile launcher. We'll pick it up, we'll take it over to the VAB. They'll then assemble the launch vehicle on top of the mobile launcher, and then we'll come back to the VAB, we'll slide underneath it again, we'll pick it up, we'll take it out to the pad, a trip of about 4.2 miles. It'll take us about 7 hours to get there. But during our trip to the launch pad, we'll roll over a specially prepared.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up over here on the right, we are approaching the NASA Vehicle Assembly Building, where NASA assembles all the rockets. One of the largest buildings in the world by volume. This building was built in the 1960s for the Apollo program to accommodate the Apollo Saturn rocket. Also, this building has 4 high bay doors to inside. Take 45 minutes to open and close those doors. You can see the American flag also was painted by hand. Also, the size of this building is 525 feet tall, about 180 feet wide. It was built in 8 acres of land. If you want to take pictures of the building, this is a good opportunity to do that.
The latest refurbishment is complete, and preparation is well underway for the first SLS mission. The Crawler will be doing what it was originally designed to do once again, which is moving rockets.
Also coming up over here on the right, between these small white buildings coming up, it's going to be one they call us Transporter, the vehicle that transports the rockets to the launch pad. It's gonna be the gray one with the yellow handrails, with the NASA logo on the front, the one with the American flag. Right between the buildings out there is right. That's the vehicle that transports the rocks. Right, with the handrails. We actually have two of them. The other one's inside the VAB. They were built in Marion, Ohio by Marion and Power and Trouble Companies in the 1960s for the Apollo program. Also, if you see that ramp up in the corner, that's a mobile launch transporter. It actually was left here from the Space Shuttle program from the 1960s. That mobile launch transporter weighs 9 million pounds.
Why some say the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
When President John F. Kennedy made this speech in 1962, he set in motion an era of discovery that would change humankind forever. 7 years after he spoke these ambitious words, the world watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first people to walk on the moon. The achievements of the men and women who worked on the space program in these early decades of NASA helped propel the technology we use every day. NASA and the thriving private space industry at Kennedy Space Center today are the living legacy of their story. As we arrive at the Apollo Saturn V Center to learn more about that historic era, get ready to step back into a time when NASA had everything to prove to a nation focused on one goal: to be the first country to land a person on the moon.
Please check around your seat to make sure you have all of your belongings before departing the bus. Wait at the metal doors to enter the Apollo Saturn V Center. A new show will begin every 10 minutes. Stay and explore as long as you like, and simply exit through the Right Stuff gift shops to board a bus back to the visitor complex. About a 15-minute ride with buses departing frequently.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up over here in front of us, we call this area right here. This is the Banana Creek Launch Viewing Site. This is where we bring the public to view all the rockets that in the Space Center. Across the water, we have two launch pads. On the right, we have the famous launch pad 39A. That's when NASA launched most of the Apollo Saturn V rockets to the moon. If anybody remember Apollo 11, that's where they launched the rocket from. They also launched 82 Space Shuttle missiles for the launch pad too. But now SpaceX used that launch pad to launch the Falcon 9 rockets. And on the left, we have launch pad 39B. So you can see the three lightning towers across the water. That's what the pad is. That's when NASA launched a new rocket called the Artemis Swarm, the rocket that went back to the moon a couple of years ago. They also launched 53 Space Shuttle missiles for the launch pad too. And if you